It's a real privilege to have Father Tom Smolich here as our keynote speaker. Father Smolich is the Jesuit appointed by our Superior General, Father Adolfo Nicolas, as the President of the Jesuit Conference of the United States Assistancy. And he's been in this position since 2006, and he will be leaving that position at the end of July 2014. He doesn't know what he's going to do next. He's a good Jesuit. He's at the mercy of his provincial, and as we all are. And I'm sure that whatever he does next, it'll be fruitful for the society. Before he had this position, he was the provincial of the California province. And you may not know that the California province encompasses Arizona, the states of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Hawaii, and of course California. And I think you'll be talking about this a little bit more, but we're in the process of forming a new province, which would be the entire West Coast, which would combine California and the Oregon provinces. And so I'm sure he'll be speaking about that. He entered the Jesuits in 1974, was ordained in 1986, and he earned an MBA degree from Stanford University. And so please welcome Father Smolich.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome that I've received from so many of you this morning. John made me sound like I'm somebody really important. I am the commissioner of baseball for the Jesuits. That's what my real job is. He mentioned that there are provincials. There's the Oregon Provincial. There are actually 9 provincials in this country. I think of them as the team owners. I keep the team owners playing together. Our office runs the farm system for them, and once in a while I can call them to do something for the good of the sport that they would rather not do. Those of you who are baseball fans, I am Bud Selig, but I aspire to be Bart Giamatti. So, it's a real pleasure to be with you, and let me echo what has been said. Thank you. Thank you for your support of Bellarmine. Thank you for your support of Jesuit secondary education. What you do here supports this ministry throughout the country. Your dedication and your care for the students, like Zeb and others who are currently there, makes a huge difference in terms of where this important educational ministry goes in the future. But before talking about the future, I'd like to go back to the past. If you could roll back with me to 1973. Way back in 1973, there were about 212 million people in this country. There were about 6,600 Jesuits in the country. And there were 49 Jesuit prep schools throughout the country. 40 years ago this month, at one of those prep schools, Jesuit High School in Sacramento, a little bit down the track from here, a community meeting took place. And the provincials had come to tell the community there that they were closing the school. The school, which was one of the newest ones at that time, it started in 1963. And they told the community, we can't keep Jesuit High open because we don't have enough people. We don't have enough manpower. They didn't go into the specifics of what that meant, but I've been able to look into the files. And what it meant was, they felt that to have a Jesuit high school, you needed 50% of the faculty to be Jesuit. What they were going to do was close the school in Sacramento, redistribute the Jesuits from Sacramento to the other 4 province high schools, and thereby keep 4 Jesuit high schools in California. Folks, we've come a long way since then. Turning the clock forward to now, there are about 316 million people in this country, and the number of Jesuits is a little over 2,500. So if we were to hold the ratio constant of Jesuits to schools. That is about 135 Jesuits per school. If there were 49 schools 40 years ago, we should have 19 schools today. If you hold the ratio of population constant, about 4 million people per Jesuit high school, we should have about 73 Jesuit high schools in the country today. Here's the scoop. There are 73 secondary and pre-secondary schools under the Jesuit banner in the country today. There's 7 more. There's a huge variety of them. We've got places like Bellarmine and Seattle Prep. There are nativity schools for junior high kids in need in places like Portland and Seattle. The Cristo Rey program, which works especially with poor kids, includes job participation as part of that, is spreading throughout the country. We sponsor 73 schools we endorse. We give a sign of approval to 7 more, most recently the Catholic school up in Fairbanks. And there are 3 more Jesuit high school Cristo Reys which are in process. 2 of them will open next year. So I am very proud to say, and thrilled to say, that Jesuit secondary education continues to be live, continues to be a priority for the Society of Jesus in this country. This is the only Jesuit ministry where there are more of them now than there were in 1973. We still have 28 higher education institutions, but there are far less parishes, fewer retreat houses, fewer social justice ministries. I think that says something about the significance of Jesuit secondary education to the Society of Jesus. I would also want to comment that way back then, going back to 1973, the California province sold Jesuit High School to a community of local leaders. I think the provincials at that time figured it would just sort of close up and drift off on its own and they wouldn't have the blood on their hands. What really happened was that they set up a sponsorship agreement with Jesuit High School. It continued to work out. The school is still open, and they just started a building project to build a new chapel there. So even when things look grim, incredible things can happen through the power of God and the power of people working together. What does this story say? What does it say to you? What does it say to me? I'd like to suggest it says 3 things. Secondary education is and will continue to be a priority of the Jesuits in this country. And I believe will continue to be a priority of the new West Coast province, which is in formation. It is a priority of Oregon and California provinces, and will continue to be a priority of the new West Coast Conference. Second, I believe the diversity and growth of Jesuit secondary, pre-secondary education suggests a vitality that will continue to express itself and continue to evolve. What do I mean by that? Those of you who are farmers know that if you're only growing one crop over and over again on the same land, it tires things out. The fact that there's a growing diversity of Jesuit secondary education in this country and the ways that we are doing it says to me there's a real energy there. There can be cross-fertilization. The images that Rob shared with you today are possible. Jesuit education can respond to that because of the creativity and the diversity that exists right now in this ministry. And finally, what else does it suggest? Just as in 1973, people rose to the challenges, I think we in 2013, working together, can rise to the challenges of Jesuit secondary education and successfully engage them. Now let me just spend a little time on what I see, what 3 of those challenges might be that we together, who are involved in Jesuit education, can deal with, can succeed. Jesuit personnel, involvement of our colleagues, and sustainability, I think, are the three challenges which face us. This whole Jesuit personnel question, there are clearly less of us than there were in 1973. Those numbers will continue to go down. I have to be honest with you, I don't think we've done a particularly good job in recruiting Jesuits. We need help. Rob was talking about old organizations that have this whole viscosity issue. I think that's probably true of us. We need to do better in terms of recruiting men to join us. But that being said, we're not going to go back to the good old days of all sorts of Jesuits, or 50% of the faculty being Jesuit. Matter of fact, our schools are a lot better off for not being 50% Jesuit. Much more talent has come through the doors on all sorts of levels. And as a parenthesis, that's part of the background of bringing what used to be 10 provinces in this country into 4 provinces. There will ultimately be an East Coast, Midwest, Central and Southern, and West Coast province. Why are we doing this? We had 10 provinces when there were 7,000 Jesuits. We don't need that sort of level of Jesuit bureaucracy anymore. But I would also add that I think coming together in these new ways increases our ability to be flexible to deal with the challenges that are out there. Rather than a network of 4 schools, which are in the Oregon province, there will now be a network of 17 schools. 17 schools which get more resources, frankly, which have more possibilities for interaction and shared development. I think this realignment, this creation of new provinces is ultimately something good for us. I think it will inspire the mission to be bigger, to share it more broadly, and I hope to deepen it and expand it in ways that it can be done. It's a challenge, like anything, but I think it's ultimately a challenge which will bring much grace, much good for our ministries throughout the West Coast. That number being said, we do need to work on Jesuit presence. Any help that you could offer us, I would appreciate very much. But that also brings the second challenge, and I think grace, and that is of colleagueship, of partnership. More than ever before, we in the Society of Jesus work for you. You are our partners, our colleagues in Jesuit secondary education. Whether you be administrators, teachers, board members, alums, people who care about Jesuit education, we do not do this without you. What I'm happiest about in this area is one of the aspects of this whole secondary education world which has been growing and changing over the years. And that's something called the Jesuit Secondary Education Association. This is basically the think tank, the sort of training grounds for Jesuit education in our country. They've been doing a lot of the work, the grad, other sorts of things which say, who are we as Jesuit educators and how do we do what we want to do? Your own principal, Chris Gavin, is a member of the board of trustees at this time. And one of the things that we are working on right now is how to integrate and how to continue to grow Jesuit education in this new province model. How do we bring the creativity, which has always been our hallmark, into this new model of governance, new province model? I'd also add that my first opportunity to meet Rob and Greg, your board chair, was at a JSCA meeting last January, specifically for presidents and board chairs, helping them in their role of leadership of Jesuit education. It was either there or at the JSCA meeting, I don't remember which, where I idly made the comment that if you want me to come and do something, I'd be happy to come. And here I am. I am quite happy to have come. Without you, this whole thing doesn't make sense. And we've come a long way in this. Not too long ago, we looked at the lay folks to handle the business and the Jesuits to handle the spirit. We all do it now. You share in the spirit. You share in Ignatian spirituality. You are part of our mission from the bottom all the way up. It continues to be a challenge, and we've had incredible amounts of success. I'd say the final challenge, and I hope for success, is that question of sustainability, which Rob addressed in his talk. And let me put it a little bit differently. The students now, your children, your grandchildren, they've got information out there in incredible ways. Facts are floating. But as we know, it's not enough to have facts. If they're going to take that information and do something with it, if they're going to take those facts and change their own lives and people's lives, we are saying what Jesuit education does is forms them, helps them take that information and become good citizens, good men and women who make a difference in our society and in our church. As the motto says, where potential becomes purpose. Without the kind of formation that we are doing, the world is a lot worse off, I think. So it's important to sustain this. How do we sustain it? That's the challenge. Part of it is to grow the endowment. Part of it is your generosity. Part of it is to figure out ways that we continue to do what we do more creatively and frankly with less cost. The digital world gives us some possibilities on that. Who knows what the back office of a 17-school network might be able to do. There are all sorts of things that we need to be looking at. But we have to make it work because the importance of Jesuit education continues to be needed. And it's something that our church and our world needs now more than ever. Let me close with just a little postscript. As you may have figured out, I am a graduate of Jesuit High School. I'm a graduate of the class of 1973. All that drama that I was talking about happened 4 months after I left. And interestingly enough, my brother, who was a freshman at that time, was sitting up in the back row of the bleachers in the gym, I'm told. And at one point got up and told the provincial, "You can't close this school. This is too important. I want to go here." That's what we all feel about Jesuit education. That's what I know you feel about Bellarmine. Thank you for being part of this mission. Thank you for sharing this mission of the Society of Jesus in the ways that you do with the depth that you do it. I wish you all the best, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you here this week.